Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're setting the stage for a truly fascinating look into the psychology of shadowboxing conflict. If you're the kind of person who loves to decode the hidden mechanics of your own mind, well, you are in exactly the right place. You know, we all have these bizarre little habits that we think are entirely unique to us, but behind them lies an entire architecture of human psychology just waiting to be uncovered.
So, let me ask you something right off the bat. Have you ever found yourself standing in the shower, the hot water running, having a full-blown, passionate argument in your head with absolutely no one? You're gesturing wildly, you're making these brilliant points to the shampoo bottles, and the intensity feels completely 100% real. You can almost hear the other person's ridiculous counter-arguments, and you are just shutting them down one by one. Or, actually, maybe you aren't fighting a future battle at all. Maybe you're replaying a past conversation, one that ended days ago, just so you can finally deliver that absolute perfect comeback you thought of way too late. We've all been there, right? Driving in the car or lying in bed and suddenly realizing the exact witty phrase that would have won the day. To anyone else, it might just seem like you're talking to yourself, but there's a really complex, fascinating process happening just beneath the surface.
The science behind this is absolutely wild. Having these full conversations and arguments that never happened is an actual recognized psychological pattern known as mental rehearsal. Basically, your brain is actively simulating situations to help you feel more prepared and way less stressed about future conflict. It's not just random daydreaming, it's a highly structured coping mechanism that your mind deploys to help you navigate complex social realities.
So let's break down the science behind this, starting with Pillar 1, regaining a sense of control.
Think about the stark contrast between your real life and these imaginary arguments. Real-life interactions are uncertain, they're messy, and honestly, they can be deeply overwhelming. You literally cannot control what the other person says or does, and that unpredictability leaves us feeling super vulnerable. But in the imaginary argument, you are the screenwriter, the director, the star, the whole shebang. You script the scenario, and magically, every single thing goes exactly your way. You dictate the pace, the tone, and ultimately, the resolution.
Because when reality feels chaotic and completely out of your hands, your brain steps in as a supportive screenwriter. It creates scenarios where things go your way. It builds this safe, alternate reality where you hold all the cards. And this isn't your brain trying to trick you. It's just trying to give you a momentary sanctuary from the heavy unpredictability of everyday human interaction.
In these mental battles, you say the right things, you win, and you finally feel understood. Winning that fake argument feels deeply satisfying on a psychological level. It hits the exact same reward centers in your brain as a real-world victory, giving you this massive, immediate sense of relief. For just a few minutes, you aren't the person who got talked over. You are the undisputed champion.
But what about when we dwell on the past? Well, replaying past conversations is essentially your mind's clever trick to artificially reclaim power after the fact. It creates a false sense of control over an interaction that is already over and done with. It's like a soothing psychological balm for your ego when you felt powerless, embarrassed, or just caught off guard in the moment. By rewriting history in your head, you give yourself the closure that reality denied you.
And that need for control feeds perfectly into our next core concept. Pillar 2, mental rehearsal for future anxiety.
If you have a higher baseline of anxiety, your brain is probably always firing off these rapid-fire questions. What if this happens? What if that goes wrong? What if they say this? These imagined scenarios are often a direct response to a brain desperately trying to anticipate every possible negative outcome before it can catch you off guard. It's your mind's way of mapping out a minefield before you even take your first step.
Think of it like a high-tech stress test. These imaginary arguments act as mental stimulation for high-stress situations. Your brain is safely running through the absolute worst-case scenarios in the comfort of your own shower. It's essentially running a fire drill for your emotions so that if the real conflict happens, you won't panic. By experiencing that spike in adrenaline and mapping out a response in a safe environment, you drastically reduce the shock value of real-life confrontation.
Because the ultimate goal here is simply to feel more prepared and less stressed. So, instead of judging yourself for overthinking or feeling like you're being weird, recognize that this anxious rehearsal actually serves a highly productive, protective purpose for your mental well-being. Your brain is just trying to look out for you. It's putting in overtime to ensure you aren't walking into a difficult situation unarmed. Which brings us to the third and final piece of the puzzle. Pillar 3, filling your emotional gaps. Look, we all carry hidden emotional voids around with us. Think about your real-world reality, where your emotional needs might be deeply unmet. Maybe you feel ignored, dismissed, or undervalued by a boss, a friend, or a partner. Now contrast that with your imaginary world. In your head, people actually listen to you. You finally feel valued. The contrast between what you get from the world and what you have to artificially give yourself is incredibly revealing.
Because in these simulated conversations, people listen to you, you get attention, and you feel valued. This exposes the exact feelings of validation and attention that we are secretly craving in our day-to-day lives, but perhaps just aren't getting from the people around us. When you argue in your head, you aren't just fighting an opponent. You are demanding the respect and the space that you feel you've been denied in your waking life.
When your real-world environment falls short, your brain beautifully steps in as an emotional surrogate. It creates these exact feelings artificially, generating quick relief and a much-needed sense of validation. It's a temporary self-generated patch for a very real emotional wound. Your mind recognizes that you're hurting, and it manufactures the exact scenario required to administer a dose of dopamine and comfort.
So let's bring all of these concepts together in our final section, seeing your behavior differently. Once you understand these psychological patterns, you start seeing your own behavior in a completely different way. Learning this wasn't just about analyzing a quirky shower habit. It was about fundamentally decoding the mechanics of your own mind and uncovering what you truly need. Every imaginary debate is actually a roadmap to your own insecurities, your desires, and your boundaries.
So, I want to leave you with this final thought. The next time you find yourself having an imaginary shower argument, pause for a second and ask yourself, what is my brain trying to solve right now? Are you looking for control? Are you prepping for anxiety? Or are you simply seeking validation? Keep exploring your mind, use this new perspective, and thanks so much for joining us for this explainer.